Happy New Year. Happy New Year 2022. I just read this morning that in our town, which is Maplewood, New Jersey, there were more cases, more new COVID cases, like 50% of all COVID cases that we've had since the beginning of COVID have happened in December 2021. So to all my friends and my neighbors who are not feeling well, oh, I'm so sorry. We're back to masks on everywhere we go, and school is virtual until the 10th. At least that's the latest that we've heard. So I know that's really frustrating for the parents in town who are just exhausted. So in the spirit of controlling what we can control, I thought I would talk about something that's near and dear to my heart today, which is organizing yarn. So if you are joining us live, let me take a look at the comments today. Let us know what your first name is and what town you live in. And maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, how organized is your stash? So let me rate myself. Good morning, Jess. So I guess for me, I have to differentiate between business stash, inventory, and personal stash. But honestly, like for my personal stash, I'd have to give myself a pretty low rating, like maybe a 5 out of 10. Whereas my inventory is pretty good. I would say like maybe a 7 or an 8. My long-term goal is to be able to have someone come into my apartment. For right now, that's where all my inventory is, most of my inventory, and be able to find anything, and have it be so clear. That's not possible right now. It's all in my brain. So I guess in my own brain, the rating I would give myself is a 9. That doesn't count, does it? So if you're organizing your personal stash, then your own rating is all that matters. So again, if you're just joining us, Happy New Year, good morning, hello if you're watching the replay. Let us know on a scale of 1 to 10, how organized is your stash? So I'm going to start things off and I'm going to say that my personal stash equals a 5. And Jess says, I think I'm at about a 7, but don't ask how many works in progress I have. Totally. So I think it was last week, we talked about how to wrangle your works in progress. And so if you get a chance, take a look at the replay on YouTube or on our Facebook page, because that's a whole, it's a whole other ball of wax. And if you're anything like me, your works in progress are hiding, nestled among your stash. So as you come to them, I guess I would suggest that you put them aside and organize your works in progress in another day. But it is illuminating, shall we say, to find how many works in progress are lingering. Yes, it's a whole other ball of yarn, not wax, yarn. Good. So let me do my handy dandy banner here. The first step to organizing your stash is what I like to call the reckoning. And that is that you take every ball of yarn, every bag of yarn, every box of yarn, every tub of yarn, every drawer, every freezer compartment, everything, and you put it all in one room. Now, obviously, not everyone lives by themselves like I do, so you might have to pick a spare bedroom. Maybe you don't have a spare bedroom. So pick a day that you are going to be able to do this, and really dedicate some time to it, depending on how big your stash is. If you're lucky, and I say lucky because you can organize all in one go, you just have a small amount, take an hour, take an afternoon. For those of us who have been knitting and crocheting for years, this might be, the weekend project. But if you can visualize that gorgeous end result, you are going to be so happy. So I would like you to really be honest with yourself and say, oh, the trunk of your car? Yeah. I'm telling secrets about my mother, but I think she used to hide like clothing that she would buy. This is decades ago. From my dad. She'd be like, "Okay, well, it's in the trunk of the car. I'll just import it into the house slowly." So, Marie Kondo says, if if she were to say to you, "Okay, is this everything?" Because if we find any more yarn, we're just going to throw it out. So, is this really, really, really everything? That's the level of all the yarn that she wants you to put in one place. I do love Marie Kondo. She wrote the Magic of Tidying Up, or the Art and Magic of Tidying Up. And I used to be a professional organizer, and so it's still in my blood. Um, but I haven't done it professionally for years and years. But the three main categories remain the same. And the first is to gather. So everything, all the yarn, even that bag of little bits and odds and ends, that all goes in one place. The place that I choose is my bed, because I know I can't go to sleep that night unless that is taken care of. So I'm going to do this exercise this weekend, and all the yarn is going right on my bed. So that's step one. I see we have 5 people on the call. Welcome. Let us know. Let us know where you're going to put your yarn. If you're going to do this, where are you going to put all of your yarn? Is it a spare bedroom? Is it the floor of the living room? Is it on your bed? Let us know. Okay, so that's step one. Step two is what I call the cat method. So there are some yarns that you look at and you're like, I could never, ever, ever get rid of them. It's my favorite yarn in the whole wide world. Keep. And there's just no question. That's the easiest, and that's what you want to just put aside right away. Have like a nice empty tub. Have a cardboard box. It doesn't matter, but just those automatically go in one spot. Easy, easy peasy. There might be some, and I hope there are some that make it really easy for you on the other end, where you're like, when you look at the yarn, it just gives you a sinking feeling in your chest, and you say, I don't want this anymore. I'm done. And even, like, I'm thinking of an example from my past. It almost makes me want to cry, like how frustrating this project was. Maybe you knitted it at a difficult time in your life, or maybe you thought it was going to work one way and it doesn't work. Maybe you bought it on sale and you're like, this isn't really my style anymore. Maybe you spent way more than you would normally spend on yarn and you feel guilty that you spent so much money on it. So I hear a lot of people say, well, I spent good money on that yarn. Listen, money is money. You're spending energy. And and so the energy that it costs you to keep something that doesn't bring you joy, again, to kind of quote Marie Kondo or paraphrase, it's not worth it. And yeah, remember the benefit of releasing that energy to someone else who will love it. Jess says, I donated 3 huge boxes of yarn that I didn't plan to use to a nursing home last year, and they were so thrilled to have it. Jess says, I have a variegated yarn that has great colors, but I hate it when I try to work it up. Yes, it's so true. And Jess Spratford, I think of buying a piece of clothing. Sometimes it looks great on the mannequin who's a size whatever. Sometimes it looks great on the hanger. And then when you actually put it on, you're like, oh. And it's the same with yarn. Sometimes it's a better product when it's in the skein. It looks beautiful, and then it doesn't look how you had imagined it or how you need it to look when you're actually working with it. I also want to mention that sometimes this is going to sound a little woo-woo, but your relationship with the yarn is not always the same as someone else's relationship with the yarn is going to be. For example, I had a super bulky kind of cornflower blue Icelandic wool. And it looked so pretty, and I was like, I should really be able to make something awesome with this. And it never really happened. I gave it to one of my closest friends. She's almost like a sister to me, and she was just learning to knit. She made a garter stitch scarf with this wool, and that's what it was meant to be. It was beautiful. And here I was getting in my own way and trying to make it all fancy. And it's like, no, it just needed like that solid garter stitch. And I think the yarn is happy. She's happy. I'm happy. So, there will always be more yarn. That is just my way of encouraging you to act out of love and abundance when you're organizing your yarn. And quick tip or quick secret, you can use this for anything in your life. So we're not just talking about yarn here, if you know what I mean. We could be talking about anything, right? Clothes and books and household items and relationships and all sorts of things in your life. You definitely want to keep the things that spark joy and release the things that have a negative energy attached to them. Now, there's that middle ground, and that is, I call it act, and that is like, you need to maybe do something with this yarn before it can definitely go into the keep pile or the toss pile. So sometimes, I know for me, I'll start something, maybe I'll swatch something, and then I'm like, oh, like I want to undo it. Maybe I want to go on Ravelry and I want to look for a good pattern. Maybe, there's just something that I want to do with this yarn. Maybe I need to buy another ball because I don't have enough to finish my project. So these are my something that I need to act upon. So ideally, that is your smallest pile, but I know in reality, at first, it's often not for people. And so I would put that in a separate bin. And if you can divide it into like little projects, then it's like a little work in progress. And again, if you want to learn more about organizing your works in progress, check out our last episode from last week and last year. So I know act sounds kind of vague, but it could also be the maybes. And so what I say for the maybes is, anything, if you're not deciding today, it's just going to be a deferred decision. So if you have like a big box of maybes, give it a week, give it a month, take a look at it again and see if you look at it with fresh eyes, especially if you have a lot to go through. It's okay to break this up into a couple days, and then you can use your bed and go to sleep and come at it another day. So that's the cat method. And then my favorite part, because I love boxes and organizing, is step 3. So let me do my handy dandy banner. Is contain yourself, or at least contain your yarn. So, all right, like where to begin? There are so many different ways to organize your yarn, but I will say that there are like a couple principles that you definitely want to keep in mind. Number 1, if you have wool, I highly recommend that you are using closed storage. In other words, do as I say, not as I do, because I've got some wool yarn here that's out in the open, but that's a little different. That's like set design. But for my yarn that is wool, I like to have it covered, and I like to have either cedar, lavender, a bar of soap that's in some sort of a wrapper, not like an open bar of soap, but just something to keep any pests away, just to keep it like really fresh. And you know what? I think what I'll do is I'll follow up with some links to my favorite places for that kind of thing. So different kinds of bins. Now, if you are a container store lover like me, you can get lost, and it's a big problem. So I'm going to show you today my 3 favorite kinds of bins. And they vary in price. But you can just kind of like do what you want to do. And there's nothing wrong. There's totally nothing wrong with like just using what you have around the house. Like do that first for sure. Don't go and spend a bunch of money on containers. Like it's fine. Unless you want to. Uh, but the one thing I would say is try your best to move away from cardboard boxes and plastic shopping bags because they're very permeable. So dust and pests can get in, and so you really want to avoid that as much as possible. Okay, so the first one is this is from Target, and it came in a package of, I think it came with 9 boxes, and it was about $45. So it really wasn't that expensive. And inside, I have cotton yarn. So this is the most easily like accessible, like it doesn't lock. It's made of this like paperboard. It's cute though. And so I'm not going to put wool in this, but cotton, it's perfect. And I love, love, love the clear front. Just love it. And so I can stack those and have it be like, oh, okay, I know what's inside. So that's my first kind of bin that I like to use. And then the second bin is also from Target. And part of what I love this. This is like my favorite. And the reason I love it so much is number one, the price. Number two, it's 100% translucent, transparent. And number three, they just stack. I don't know. They're wonderful. So this is also from Target. And it is $4, people. $4 for this bin. And I love them so much that I went into Target and I bought every one that they had. And then I called my mother and I said, can you please go to the Target nearby you and get every one that they have? And she did, because she's amazing. So it's called Room Essentials Large Modular Storage Bin. They also have ones that are half this size, like half the depth, which I just think would be so cute for works in progress or anything. Anyway, you can tell I'm kind of in love. And these lock a little bit better. They're not like super, like you can see they're kind of like, but it's okay. So I have cashmerino in there, and I put a little sticker on it. I haven't labeled them yet, but I put a sticker on it, a dry erase sticker, and then I can write down what is in each box if I wanted to. But I can see it because it's transparent, so labeling it is more for others' benefit, for sure. And then my third favorite is the most expensive. It's where I keep my most expensive yarns. And it's a zippered bag from Muji, Muji, and it's like sort of waxed on the inside, so it like really protects the yarn. So here's all like cashmere, silk, all these wonderful, wonderful yarns. And this was, I think it was about like $28, which I know sounds ridiculous for a box, but I love it. And you can also get really good alternatives at IKEA. You can get, I would say, versions of all of these from IKEA. And as far as ordering online, IKEA ships and Muji ships. Again, that's Muji. Target ships, but they don't ship those clear bins. So frustrating. So you do have to go in person to a Target. I would imagine they have something similar at Walmart, but I don't know. I haven't checked. Hi, Jerry. And she says, yes, the clear bins are awesome. For me, if I can't see it, I forget it's there. And actually that includes the fancy, fancy yarns in the zippered compartment. So I really love clear. I don't always use the small bins. I do have like the big bins that you can just get from Home Depot or Target or Staples. And yeah. So as far as categorizing, I like to, Yeah, there's no Target where Jess is. Yeah, so she gets the clear bins at Walmart. Exactly. Um, so yeah, as far as categorizing, um, that's really kind of a personal choice, and it's actually one that I think yarn store owners also deal with is, do I organize by color? Do I organize by fiber? Do I organize by weight? And if you have an extensive stash, like a lot of us do, sometimes you have to make like subdivisions. So definitely if I have a lot of super bulky yarn, I like to keep it all together, because when I'm ready to make something super bulky, I know what colors to choose. And that's almost always wool. Um, I have all my cottons together. I would say I probably have the least cotton of all of my yarns. So it's easy to have like all the cotton in one place. Um, and then for everything else, I try to do it by brand. And again, we're talking about my inventory here, of course. So for my personal stash, it's a little messy. Like there are a lot of balls of yarn that like I just couldn't possibly part with, and I want to make a stash buster something with someday. But fortunately, those are not too terribly extensive. But like Jessica A said, then we're getting into works in progress, and that's a whole other beast. So those are my 3 tips for wrangling. Again, number 1, put everything in one spot. The Great Reckoning. You really see how much you have when it's all in one place. Number 2, keep what you love, donate what you don't love, and try to keep the maybe pile as small as possible. And number 3, only after you've done steps 1 and 2, then contain yourself, contain your yarn, and put it all in one spot. And Jerry says, Daisy Girl makes a project bag with clear front panels. Yes, I use those for my works in progress, and I hang them on a rod. I love that. I have like one little spare closet in my studio at home, and that's where I keep my works in progress on project bags. But the clear front panel, brilliant, brilliant. Might have to talk to the sisters at Fat Bottom Bags and see if they'll work up some of those for us. That would be really cool. Yeah, the clear front panel is key. What I've been doing, the workaround, is to is to put like almost like a price tag or a gift tag on each bag and write down what's inside it. It's very cute, but it's an extra step. So that's how I work around that when I have opaque project bags, which I always do. Okay. Thank you so much for your time today. It was lovely, lovely to see you, Jerry. Lovely to see you, Jess and Jess. And for those of you who are watching the replay, go ahead and comment below any tips and tricks that you love about organizing your stash. And we will see you next week. And just a little teaser, I'm going to preview our brand new subscription box kit next week, designed by the inimitable Jessica A's. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody. Happy New Year.